There's a thing called the Festive 500. So what you do is ride 500 kilometers between Christmas and New Year. That seems a bit far for me with the other things I'm doing. So I'm doing the Festive 250. It doesn't quite roll off the tongue as well as the Festive 500, but 250 k's on my bike between Christmas and New Year. So it's the 27th today, and I'm just heading into Brisbane's South Bank to meet up with a group, and we're riding out to Woody Point.
I sometimes decide to do things without thinking of the consequences or without thinking about how hard it will be. The first ride was going to be around 100 kilometres, but as we started riding, the dark clouds were growing and getting closer until they burst.
We're waiting for the rain to clear.
Looking at the weather app, we decided the rain was clearing. But it got heavier and heavier and heavier. And the only thing to do was cut the ride short and stop for coffee. We ended up at the coffee shop for about an hour while we waited for the clouds to pass. And we didn't get to Woody Point. It was a general consensus that we turn back and head home. So you can hear who uses disc brakes. For the last few years, I've heard of this Festive 500 and thought about doing it. And when I heard of the 250 option, I thought I'd give it a go. 2022 was the year I decided to do the 250, and I couldn't finish it. The first ride was just over 83 kilometres. The next day, Tim and I headed out. Since attempting this Festive 250, I've looked back at my training and seen that I only usually do around 100 kilometres per week. If I'd known that before starting, I might have given this 250 a bit more respect. So massive kudos to everyone who was able to do either the 500 or the 250. To be honest, I never look at my training as how many kilometres I do each week of cycling or running or swimming. I just do the sessions my coach gives me. So I didn't have any gauge of how far I've been riding each week. The River Loop reward for me is the downhill down Dornoch Terrace, with speeds for me over 50 kilometres an hour. It's my favourite part of the ride, and it's such a great feeling with that wind whooshing by. Tim headed home and I kept riding. He's been feeling pretty fatigued recently, and one river loop was enough for him. I saw a friend of mine who's a coach and a gun triathlete. We stopped at some lights together, and we ended up riding a part of the ride together, and I was a bit worried about keeping up with her, but it ended up, it was the best feeling out of that whole ride for me. So I don't know if it was just, having someone else with me or just chatting, but for some reason I had that little bit of time in that ride where I actually felt pretty good. She kept riding and I turned to go home. And I headed home feeling tired again. But I added 62 kilometres to my 83 kilometres from the day before. I am at, I think, 145 now, so that means 105 to do on Saturday. But I think after a couple of days rest, I'll be okay to smash out 105 and get the RAFA 250. It's the 31st of December, and it's the last day of the Festive 250. I've got 105 kilometres to go, but I don't actually know if I'm going to do it. I'm just going to see how I feel when I get out there. So it's been raining. So another day in the rain. My program says 2.5 hours with some efforts, so I'll do that first and then just see how I feel, and may get to 105, may not. Let's see. It was pretty early on in this ride that I decided I was just going to do my planned ride and not go for the 105k. The reason being, I thought about my goals for 2023. I've got 8 weeks until my next race. And if I do 105 kilometres now, I'm going to fatigue myself, and then that will impact on my upcoming training sessions and ultimately my upcoming race. So for once, I thought with my head and made the wise decision. So hitting a number, in this case 250 kilometres of cycling in 1 week, would be detrimental to my training plan at the moment and my 2023 goals. And it could also impact qualification for the World Champs. So this ride was 65 kilometres, which added up to 210 kilometres of cycling for the week, which is more than double what I normally ride. And I'm okay with that. Maybe 2023 is the year that I hit the Festive 250. Thanks for riding with me.